Reaching out to my estranged brother felt hopeful, but his dismissive responses resurfaced old wounds. Will this cycle ever end? Him 55, doctor of medicine, middle child of 3, married 3 children, resides in the Midwest. Me 50, engineer, youngest of 3, married 2 children, divorced, remarried recently at the end of last year, lives in the South. US, our parents separated when I was 9 and he was 14. He and our older sister, who is 57, moved in with our father while I remained with our mother. I saw my father 2 weekends each month, and he never visited our mother. We've been caught in a cycle of attempting to communicate, usually after significant family events such as weddings, divorces, or funerals. We engage, experience heated exchanges, have a major fallout, go our separate ways, and then years later attempt to reconnect. This pattern has been ongoing as long as I can remember. In the past 5 years, I have commenced therapy, finalized my divorce, discovered the joy and assistance of psychedelics, found my partner, and got remarried recently. To establish the context for the recent communication below, the last conversation we had prior to this exchange was immediately after my divorce when I began exploring psychedelics. I sent him an email detailing my experiences and how beneficial they were for me, suggesting he might also find value given that I sensed a part of him is similar to me. I offered to share the experience. He stated he would avoid anything illegal until his retirement in a few years, which I completely understand. Following that, we exchanged over 50 emails expressing our views on transgender issues. Both my children identify as transgender, whereas none of his do, to the extent that I felt so offended I had to cease communication with him. Until now. After my most recent reply today, I contemplated suggesting that I visit him monthly to attend therapy together. Perhaps having a facilitator would be advantageous. It might provide him with a fresh perspective, and it could potentially offer me new insights. That's when I considered that posting here might give me some impartial viewpoints. Only the names have been altered. Everything else has been copied verbatim from my phone. Me Friday, 7th, 11:15 p.m. If you granted me just 20 minutes, I could introduce you to the universe. Him Saturday, 8th, 7:36 a.m. mushrooms or DMT. I'm glad you perceive it. Not everyone reaches the promised land. Me Saturday, 8th, 11:07 a.m. absolutely. Psychedelics are a fascinating and potent tool when used appropriately. You can never predict your exact experience, and all of your defenses instantly fade away, including that stubborn ego. We had a family dinner, close friends, on Thursday, and I was speaking with Michael, who shared childhood anecdotes about his younger brother, Aaron, and it was heartwarming. I suppose, on some level, I long for a harmonious relationship with my older brother, and that desire surfaced last night. I apologize for sending a late-night message. It is unfortunate that our relationship is so strained. I have doubts that it will ever improve. I had always anticipated that it was Sarah who created the distance, and that we would reconnect positively following the divorce, but that didn't occur. I believe it involves multiple factors. Our communication styles are often different or even conflicting. I recognize your intelligence, yet I don't sense that you regard me as equally capable. These two perspectives need not be mutually exclusive. I feel as though you consistently dismiss or minimize my traumas. I do not think you truly understand, or acknowledge, the struggles faced by transgender individuals, which is a significant aspect of my life, considering both of my children identify as trans. I feel that you have always attempted to assume a paternal role. While perhaps I needed that at 12, I do not require it at 50. I want a brotherly connection. It reminds me of when you told Dad that you didn't need a father anymore, you desired a friend. Yet he was unwilling to provide that. We both know how that situation unfolded. Life is good. I can confidently say that I am the happiest I have ever been. I am uncertain why I'm even writing this, apart from wanting to express my thoughts from last night. I do not have any expectations from you. As appears typical in our family line, I would manage if we never communicated again. Yet it feels like a squandered opportunity. For what it's worth, I apologize for not extending an invitation to our wedding. You would have enjoyed it. It was quite spectacular, though I admit I am biased. Elizabeth informed me, while we were sending invitations, that you were worried I would invite you, and that you would appear as the villain for not attending. Therefore, I asked her not to invite you to spare you from that predicament. I'm uncertain whether that was the correct choice, but I cannot alter the past. I apologize for any past offenses or negative feelings you may still hold regarding our relationship. You are still my brother, and I care for you. This may very well be me speaking into the void, but perhaps it would be wise to set aside our pride for a moment. Who knows? I am fairly certain this will be the final time I reach out in this manner. I have shared all I needed to express. Eagles or Chiefs. Him Saturday, 9th, 4:38 a.m. It has been a busy day. Only now can I read and respond. You are a Smith, so we know you are intelligent. I trigger you, that is all. I do not have this issue with anyone else, so it's likely your viewpoint. I have never disrespected you. You are simply shooting the messenger. I'm pleased to hear you are in a good place. I have been matching your efforts. I understand that weddings can be stressful. I have been busy as well, and it is natural that we are not in communication. The door is not closed, but I am working on my end. You are doing fine. Keep me updated. Him Friday, 14th, 8:54 a.m. I couldn't sleep last night and thought about your message. I realize I said I would match your efforts, but also recognize that you likely misinterpreted my text. As a Smith, you weren't raised any differently, and I imagine you have not learned what I have studied over the last couple of years. An apology consists of 3 components. 1. Explicitly admitting to an action for which you feel remorse. 2. Committing to not repeat that action. This commitment constitutes the apology. 3. Specifying the consequences if you breach that promise boundary. Stating that you feel bad and expect the other person to respond positively and alter their behavior is not an apology. This is a tactic, in clinical terms. I offer this feedback as I would to any friend. Do not interpret it as a coaching or paternal gesture. It is simply an explanation. I appreciate your apology and your intention to behave differently towards me. Again, I am pleased to match your efforts. For a brief period, I will intensify my efforts, making sure my wording does not upset you during this temporary phase of reaching out. If you ever have any confusion regarding my intentions, feel free to ask directly. Sending this on this day of love. Me Friday, 14th, 9:53 a.m. I appreciate your second effort. Happy Valentine's Day to you as well. Thank you for your feedback. I can only assume you are referring to my honest remarks regarding why I believe we have difficulties in our relationship, the reasons I choose to limit our interactions, which is my perspective, and how you feel those comments undermine any apology. That was the foundation of my message. Perhaps I included too much in my communication, which muddled it. I acknowledge that. If you prefer, I could take back my apologies until I can align with those 3 components. Ultimately, my intentions were sincere. The sentiment was, it is unfortunate not having a brother, and I was attempting to change that. I do value the feedback, and I will make an effort to provide you with my thoughts. I anticipated, perhaps naively, that by initiating contact, we would meet each other halfway. When someone offers an olive branch, the expectation is usually that the other individual accepts it and reciprocates the gesture, or in a more negative scenario, seizes the branch and retaliates. Your reply was somewhat in between. John, I know you well enough to recognize that you choose your words very intentionally, and your sentences carry specific purposes. If you had been in therapy as long as I have and truly gained insights from it, you would understand that you cannot control how others feel. You cannot dictate their feelings, to which they are entitled, only regulate your responses. You cannot prescribe emotions to others, period. Your statement regarding triggering me was especially upsetting. To claim that you've never had an issue with anyone but me is misleading and insincere. I cannot speak for your friends and colleagues, but regarding Dad, Mom, Elizabeth, and Sarah, to name a few, this isn't accurate. The assertion that you have never disrespected me is simply incorrect. On numerous occasions you have. I can easily enumerate several examples. This is where you cannot dictate my feelings. My feelings are valid. That entire paragraph comes across as controlling, self-aggrandizing, and deflecting responsibility. Now, had you said, I'm sorry if I've ever disrespected you, or if you truly believe there's no need for an apology, stating, I don't think I have ever disrespected you, would have been far more appropriate. You see, I cannot dismiss your feelings, you feeling as though you haven't disrespected me. It works both ways. I contemplated this for a couple of days. Perhaps I was overly scrutinizing your choice of words, or perhaps you made an unintentional error. You did fail to include a period after perspective, but no. The overall tone of that paragraph allows for a clear interpretation of your true intent. It circles back to the points you have issue with, which you tend to minimize and dismiss. I am willing to invest effort. I believe people can evolve. I know I have changed and can continue to do so. I am not issuing demands or ultimatums. I am solely being open, honest, and direct about how your actions affect me. I cannot control how you handle what I am sharing with you. And I cannot help but feel a sense of discomfort regarding my response. It feels as though we are engaged in the same routine after 35 years, and that is honestly not my desire. I recognize that we were raised in different environments and lead diverse lives. I understand that our communication styles vastly differ. I want to trust that he is a good person with love for me. I am willing to make concessions and be flexible rather than insistent, but I will also uphold my boundaries and advocate for myself. I desire for us to be equals, share our lives, and treat one another with equal respect. I have a troubling feeling that this current reconnection will follow the same path as the last and will be short-lived. I would appreciate some third-party perspectives and advice on how to escape this cycle. Thank you in advance, David. Story 2. After 4 years together, I'm deeply concerned about my girlfriend's eating disorder affecting her health and our future family. Hello, everyone. I am seeking some external perspectives on a long-standing issue within my relationship. It's 29 male, 25 female. This will be quite lengthy, so I appreciate your patience in advance. I want to start by stating that my girlfriend is undoubtedly one of the most authentic, kind, wonderful, intelligent, loyal, loving, compassionate, and remarkable individuals I have ever encountered. She possesses admirable values and morals, and is genuinely one of the finest people I have known. She is exceptionally attractive and has no shortcomings in the appearance department. We have been together for approximately 4 years, and my girlfriend embodies everything I desire in a future spouse. However, I have become increasingly worried about her eating disorder. To provide some context, she was raised with one parent who practiced as a weight loss doctor and another parent who was morbidly obese until recently. My girlfriend recounted that when she was quite young, as early as 9, her mother spoke to her about starting a diet due to her being slightly overweight. Her mother also made remarks like, "Make sure you take care of yourself so you don't end up fat like me." And one of my girlfriend's brothers would frequently tell her that she was unattractive and overweight, even though she was not. At one point in her life, she consumed so little food that she stopped having her menstrual periods. Before my girlfriend and I became a couple, I had always been slim, around 6 feet tall, and weighing between 135 and 140 pounds until I turned 19. I played soccer during my youth, which contributed to my slender physique. I joined a gym at 19 and fell in love with the environment. I appreciated how it transformed my appearance, how it made me feel, and the benefits it provided. It positively impacted every area of my life. I became more disciplined, had heightened energy levels, increased confidence, and so on. Fast forward to the present, and I am much healthier at 190 pounds with a body fat percentage of 12%. I have been consistently working out 4 to 6 times a week since joining the gym, only taking breaks for injuries, illness, or vacations. The gym truly redirected my life. I graduated high school with a 2.2 GPA and did not have any clear direction. I began working out during my first year in college, starting at a community college and later transferring to a state university, where I eventually earned both a bachelor's and master's degree in a STEM field, achieving only 3 B grades throughout my academic journey. I am now earning an excellent income and enjoying considerable success in my career. I genuinely believe that if I had not started going to the gym, I would not have been able to turn my life around in such a significant way. When I first met my girlfriend, she weighed approximately 120 pounds at a height of 5 feet 3 inches, though she has a larger chest, which likely contributes to her weight. Initially, I did not perceive her to be unhealthy at all. However, I quickly came to understand that my girlfriend only consumed one small meal each day and did not recognize the consequences of this until I focused on my own nutrition and observed how my physical and mental health improved after I started eating sufficiently. Before I improved my diet and began eating adequately, I experienced brain fog, constipation, low energy, midday crashes, increased anxiety, trouble sleeping, and more. My girlfriend began exercising with me shortly after we began dating, adopting my regimen of lifting weights 4 to 6 times a week and walking over 4 miles each day, 7 days a week. Before she joined me at the gym, she frequently discussed her experience with brain fog, low energy, anxiety, sleep issues, and essentially all the symptoms I encountered when I was not consuming enough food. After some time working out together, I noticed that she increasingly exhibited the symptoms mentioned earlier as she was exerting herself more physically, while still only eating 1 or 2 small meals a day, resulting in severe undernourishment. I recognized early on that she might have an eating disorder because she would often break down emotionally about feeling fat, would incessantly pinch her stomach's skin, and continuously express her fear of eating more due to concerns about gaining weight or disliking her appearance post-meal due to bloating. These breakdowns typically occurred around the time she was experiencing premenstrual syndrome or about to have her period. To complicate matters, she did gain a few pounds, only around 5 over time, prompting her parents to comment on her appearance with remarks like, "Your legs are looking fuller," or "You look fit," while also saying things like, "Don't get too big, you don't want to look masculine." When dining out, her mother would further compound the issue by asking, "Are you going to eat all of that?" or exclaiming, "I can't believe you finished that portion." My girlfriend would subsequently return home and express feelings of being fat, wanting to lose weight, etc., even when she was nowhere near being overweight. I have tried to encourage her to disregard her parents' opinions, emphasizing that they lack understanding of the situation. At present, she is also preparing for the medical college admission test while working part-time around 16 hours a week. Currently, she is frequently experiencing brain fog, reporting that she needs to take Adderall to concentrate while studying, struggles with sleep, feels anxious often, and the like. She is also prone to illness, and even minor issues, such as a poor night's sleep, can significantly disrupt her following day. I have observed this and have begun to express my concerns regarding her inadequate food intake, which seems insufficient for her physical activity and mental workload. I genuinely care about her well-being and wish to positively influence her towards a healthy, happy, and fulfilling life. I have attempted to communicate to her that given her mental demands and high physical activity levels, she requires greater caloric intake. She continues to express anxiety over gaining weight, fears of looking masculine, dislike for how she bloats, apprehension about her parents' or friends' opinions, and discomfort due to frequent constipation. I genuinely believe that her constipation stems from not consuming enough food to maintain regular bowel movements. She consumes about 1,800 calories a day, reaching a maximum of 2,000, but for someone engaging in the physical and mental activities she does, I do not believe that is adequate, and I have tried to educate her on this point. I am deeply concerned about the long-term consequences this may have on her health, as well as on our relationship and any future family we may have. I love her dearly and envision a lifelong partnership, but I fear for her health in the future due to this issue and how it may affect her well-being, our relationship, and our family life. I believe that at 25 years old, even minor disturbances like a lack of sleep should not completely derail her day, nor should she be falling ill every month or so. This raises concerns for me regarding potential future scenarios, such as if we decide to have children, especially given that every parent I have spoken to has shared their experiences of sleeplessness in the first year after their baby's birth. Additionally, she tends to be forgetful and is easily overwhelmed by small inconveniences. I'm also worried that her relationship with food could potentially influence our future children. I want them to understand the importance of a balanced diet and healthy nutrition instead of feeling restricted due to fears of gaining weight or bloating. I am beginning to feel exhausted from the need to reassure my girlfriend that she is not overweight, is not unattractive, will not resemble a man, and from listening to her complaints about frequent illness, poor sleep quality, or my having to take on additional responsibilities whenever she does not rest well, or experiences ongoing constipation. She has attempted therapy in the past, but ultimately chose to discontinue it. I am genuinely concerned about the long-term repercussions of her relationship with food on her health, our partnership, and our eventual family. I recognize that the approach I have employed thus far has not yielded the desired results, and I am looking for outside opinions or suggestions on how I might more effectively address this situation. Summary: my girlfriend possesses all the qualities I could desire, but I am worried about how her eating disorder will affect her long-term health, our relationship, and our future family. I am seeking advice on the best way to discuss this situation so that she chooses to prioritize her health for both her own sake and our future together. Story 3. OMG, I just found out the love of my life ghosted me and moved away. Now I drink every night to forget. Hello, Reddit. I am going to share my emotional struggles over the years, which I believe have led to my current situation. I will do my best to present everything in chronological order without omitting too many details. At the age of 15, I began a relationship with a girl from my school. Let's refer to her as Sam. Sam was also 15. We had been attending the same school since our freshman year and chose to start dating due to our friendship and her breakup with her previous boyfriend. We shared some incredible experiences together, spending time at home, going on picnic dates, and engaging in intimate moments, everything one could envision. Being young, we had limited chances to be alone, but when opportunities arose, things inevitably happened. It would be an understatement to say I was living a good life at that time. Fast forward to the summer of 2022. We were both 16 at this point. Sam typically traveled during the summer to stay with her father in another state since she lived with her mother, her parents are divorced, and her father was in the military. This was normal, and even though we had previously disagreed regarding her moving there with him since her situation with her mom was less than satisfactory, she chose not to relocate at that moment. The reason was our dual enrollment in a college for high school, and I wanted her to complete her degree first since it was an incredible opportunity. For those unaware, in the United States, there are specific high schools known as early college, which select students through a lottery system who are qualified and apply. These schools offer an associate's degree at no cost in conjunction with a community college. I dropped her off at the airport in early June. While Sam was visiting her father, her stepmother, whom we will call Sharon, got hold of her phone and noticed some of the messages exchanged between us. Sharon initially assumed the phone situation was a joke, but it quickly escalated when I evidently sent a text while she had the phone. Sharon and Sam often engaged in activities that annoyed Sam's mother, who had a reputation for being difficult and would certainly disapprove of what they were about to do. After gaining enough information, Sharon suggested to Sam that she should consider some form of birth control, as this would theoretically be better for her and provide her with peace of mind during sexual activity. We opted for the arm implant since it was not like the pill, which requires consistent responsibility. This was far simpler for her considering her busy lifestyle, and it statistically offered greater protection than other options. The implantation procedure went well and occurred while Sam was still on vacation with her father. As far as I know, I had a good rapport with Sharon since we spoke during video calls with Sam, and she never expressed any negative feelings toward me. After Sam returned home from her father's, everything seemed fine. I picked her up from the airport along with my mother, and she ended up staying the night because it was already after midnight, and Sam's mother approved. The next morning, both my parents were out of the house, presumably at work. Sam slept on the couch, so I went downstairs to wake her up. We decided to visit the neighborhood pool that day, and with nobody at home, we were intimate prior to leaving. This is where things began to decline. Shortly after Sam's return, she started losing interest in intimacy. I couldn't comprehend why until some time had passed, and I now suspect it may have been a direct side effect of the implant, especially considering how strong our relationship had been prior. We also began experiencing more disagreements and arguments, leading to emotional distance and reduced time spent together. This pattern continued for about another year until early summer 2023. At this point, we were still together and appeared happy, or so I believed. I hadn't experienced a heartfelt hug from Sam in months, and our phone calls had become less frequent, although we still communicated frequently through text and maintained a good relationship. We were not fighting constantly and did not harbor ill feelings toward one another. We still valued each other's company, and I couldn't discern any reason for being upset with Sam. Once again, I dropped Sam off at the airport for her summer visit with her father. Little did I know this would mark the last time I or anyone from my state would see her. Throughout her absence, we spoke almost daily, hardly allowing hours to pass without texting, and our relationship remained strong. One day, during a phone call, I expressed my desire to move in together when I turned 18 so we could share living expenses, which are relatively low in my area. She then admitted that she had something to confess. I replied, "Okay, what is it?" She broke up with me during the call, no tears, no emotion, just sincerity. I questioned whether this was a joke, and she assured me it was not. She was relocating to be with her father, and she would not be returning. It took me a while to comprehend the situation. After we hung up, I found myself sobbing uncontrollably. 14 months gone. At that moment, I was still just 16, and this was the first instance of true emotional distress I faced, other than my close bond with my mom, who had experienced a miscarriage. I wept for days over Sam. I vividly recalled driving and feeling as though nothing had happened. It felt surreal. I could not grasp the reason behind it, and I continued to cry whenever I was alone. Accepting the reality of what occurred took over a month, and many months after that, to allow someone new into my life. Sam severed connections with everyone. I did not receive any messages from her mother. All my friends were blocked by her, and I remember sending a text to her about something a few weeks after the breakup, only to receive a response stating, "Who is this?" You can imagine the emotional turmoil that caused me. I have not cried since that moment, and it takes far more to evoke sadness in me than it did prior to this relationship. Being the last person to see Sam, and not realizing that would be our final encounter at the airport significantly affected me. Subsequently, I entered a relationship with another girl, whom I thought made me much happier, and she did. We created numerous wonderful memories, even though our relationship was shorter than with Sam. The new girl ended our relationship to be with someone else. I somewhat anticipated this, since I had already expressed discomfort with her spending time with this particular guy. I simply told her, "Okay," and carried on with my day, knowing I would not attempt to salvage the relationship this time. She quickly discovered that her new interest was quite promiscuous and desperately attempted to rekindle our relationship. I declined, naturally. Now, to add a final touch to my narrative, let me provide some context. I attend school and work almost every day, often not returning home until around 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. if I am fortunate. On weekends, I strive to maximize my free time when I am not working by finding other ways to earn money, such as assisting my neighbors or doing food delivery to supplement my income. I use this money to cover expenses for my cars, a privilege afforded to me through work related to my expensive hobby. Due to my late return, I aim to complete my school assignments during any available free time while at school. I maintain grades of As and BTechS and consider myself a conscientious student. Following my last breakup, I discovered it was surprisingly easy to acquire alcohol. I quickly developed a habit of drinking nearly every night after work, as it helped quiet my mind and allowed me to think less about the pain my past relationships have brought me. I struggle with severe attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which causes my thoughts to race uncontrollably. I found that alcohol alleviates this issue, allowing me to fall asleep effortlessly. No more lying awake staring at the ceiling or endlessly scrolling through social media in an attempt to distract myself from my past. I recognize that this is not the healthiest coping mechanism, but I am finding it challenging to identify alternatives. I do not consume excessive amounts, rather, just enough to feel tipsy enough to drift off to sleep without engaging in reckless behavior. I have not heard from Sam since my last attempt to contact her a couple of years ago, and I hope she is doing well. I often wonder if she ever thinks of me or feels any regret for ending our relationship all that time ago. Here I am now, sharing this post, certainly not under the influence of a few drinks. Has anyone else experienced something similar? How did you cope? Thank you in advance for your insights. TLDR, I drink almost every night to help me fall asleep. This is my way of coping with the emotional trauma from being dumped and completely cut off from my ex's life. Story 4. I cut ties with family after discovering my brother's girlfriend lied about our 7-year-old nephew, and I'm caught in a messy situation. Prepare yourself, as this narrative may be rather lengthy. I find myself in a complicated predicament, and I wish to extricate myself as quickly as I became involved. First, I must clarify that my brother is completely in the wrong for his behavior, and I do not condone any of his actions. My brother struggles with addiction, can be exceedingly unkind, and is, quite frankly, a despicable person. I cannot possibly convey the entirety of this situation in a brief message, as that would require a full-length book, so I will summarize as much as possible. Please do not make assumptions. Feel free to pose your questions or ask for clarification on anything. Storytelling is not part of my professional expertise, so here we are. I value honesty, and if you believe I am misguided in my feelings, please inform me, as I am uncertain about my own thoughts on the matter. My brother's girlfriend will be referred to as Becky, and her current partner will be called Steve. My brother will simply be identified as my brother. My brother and his girlfriend have been in a relationship for over 12 years, during which they have had 2 children, one aged 1 and the other 7. My brother is combating numerous personal demons and is entangled in a problematic situation. Throughout most of my life, I have not maintained a close relationship with him. I strive to be polite when required, but I avoid engaging with him unless absolutely necessary. Over the past year, my brother found himself in legal trouble, prompting his girlfriend to reach a breaking point, a choice I fully supported. We are extremely close, sharing everything. She is a cherished confidante. Although she did not want to abandon my brother during his difficult time while he was incarcerated, she answered his calls, yet their relationship noticeably shifted. She never explicitly informed him during his time in jail that they were no longer together, but she attempted to communicate this through her actions without entirely leaving him in despair. During this period, she began seeing other people. When my brother was released from jail, after around 2 weeks, she ultimately informed him that she was done with their relationship. That is perfectly fine. She has since begun dating someone new, and they have reportedly been involved for approximately 4 months. This man is already taking on a parental role with my niece and nephew. They are professing love for one another, and he has nearly moved in with them. Things are progressing rapidly. I have expressed my concerns as tactfully as possible, only to receive a myriad of excuses in response. At present, my brother is unable to leave the state he is in, even if he desired to do so. I know he would if he could, but he lacks access to a vehicle. They previously shared a living space, with both of their belongings still there. Becky has moved her items into storage, but her boyfriend is stating that he will dispose of my brother's belongings within 30 days or else. While I have a strong dislike for my brother, it feels unjust that he is unable to retrieve his things even if he wanted to. It is also worth mentioning that Steve is a recovering addict himself. He has mirrored much of my brother's behavior. Steve is now sober, has 6 children, 2 of whom do not wish to have a relationship with him, and the remaining ones he sees only twice a month, if that. Last week, I traveled to assist my aunt and uncle while my brother was stuck in his situation. While there, my brother showed me a concerning message from his son. Before my trip, Becky and I had engaged in numerous discussions regarding how distant Chris, the 7-year-old, feels they do not communicate well. He mainly interacts with the 1-year-old, which is acceptable. However, my brother revealed to me a message from the 7-year-old stating, "Mommy and Steve have told me not to talk to you. SHH, it's a secret." Alarmed, I messaged Becky to express my frustration. I chose to believe my nephew as I have caught Becky in several lies. However, I recognize children can be deceptive, and it is plausible he could be using her as a cover. But Steve. I have witnessed firsthand how Becky, speaks about the father of her children in front of both kids and her family. They do not realize that this behavior only harms the children. After my outburst, we did not communicate for several days. When we finally did resume speaking, she cast all the blame on me, claiming I should not have approached her as I did. Yet, she refuses to take responsibility for her dishonesty, telling me, "Steve doesn't really even have a relationship with the 7-year-old. But now suddenly, they are best friends, allegedly speaking often. I conceded that I could have been gentler in my approach, but it is unacceptable to manipulate children in such a way. Additionally, prior to my trip, My nephew was at my house and confided in me about many issues that broke my heart. I called my mother immediately after he left and informed her that she needed to have a conversation with her son, as he was clearly in distress. Thus, many factors influenced my reaction. Steve has now accused me of defending my brother, implying I am loyal to him rather than the well-being of the kids. Becky claims she instructed him otherwise, but all I desire is to distance myself from this chaotic situation filled with deceitful narratives. I want to sever ties with Becky, yet my niece and nephew are caught in this unfortunate scenario. Since my relationship with my brother is already limited, there is hardly anything left to cut. Ultimately, I recognize my brother's flaws, but Becky also plays a significant role in enabling his problems and has even participated in his drug use. She contributed to many aspects of their tumultuous relationship. Before their separation, she often remarked that my brother was a devoted father who loved his children. Now, her narrative has transitioned to portraying him as a terrible father. I am simply overwhelmed by the countless contradictory stories and her self-righteous attitude, as if she has never committed any wrongdoings, unfairly placing all the blame on him. I strive to be realistic, recognizing that they both share responsibility. However, when I express this viewpoint, I am accused of siding with my brother. I am simply being honest. I refuse to agree merely for the sake of agreement. Wrong is wrong, and right is right. I require assistance on how to express my desire to extricate myself from this situation as expeditiously as possible. I need guidance. Am I perhaps misguided in this perspective? I welcome any thoughts or opinions.